Star Fox 64 is one of my favorite video games, a profound influence on both my gaming taste and personal life. I spent a non-insignificant amount of hours with my cousin crowded around his old CRT, grinding out round after round of the multiplayer until the wee hours of the morning. I can play it anytime, anywhere, original cartridge, 3DS remake, emulated, Switch Online, you name it, and have a good time. Yet I've tried to come up with ideas on how to make a video about it and haven't been able to settle on anything good. Star Fox 64 is built on a foundation of old-school arcade mechanics, rail shooting, high scores, extra lives, and optional routes, and those don't exactly lend themselves to in-depth analysis, at least what passes for that on this channel. It's a game I admire for its simplicity, and trying to structure the kind of video I like to make about it just isn't really possible for me. It would be like 5 minutes of actual analysis and then like 15 minutes of me dancing around mimetic lines that were recorded, statistically, before some of the people watching this were even born. What I'm trying to say is, Star Fox 64 is amazing, you should go play it however you can, and what makes it good would be hard for me to extrapolate into my preferred format of long-form video, so I'm not going to force it. What came after 64 though, that's a different beast entirely. As the 90s wound down and the new millennium loomed, British game studio Rare was working on some new projects. Rare found their creative footing developing games for the Super Nintendo, with the main feathers in their cap being Battletoads and the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. During the Nintendo 64 era, they made several games considered among the best on the platform: GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark, and Conker's Bad Fur Day, 3 of which we're definitely going to talk about here at some point. Around 1997, one of their dev teams began work on a project called Dinosaur Planet. It was intended to be their final N64 title, an open-world action-adventure game that took cues from Ocarina of Time. It would have focused on a wolf named Saber and a fox named Krystal, and involved time travel in a prehistoric world. At the time, Star Fox creator Takaya Imamura wanted to press forward with that series, and got the green light from Shigeru Miyamoto with the caveat that it not be another rail shooter. By happenstance, Miyamoto also wanted Imamura to go in an open-world action-adventure direction. Rare was working on a demo of Dinosaur Planet to show at E3 2000, Miyamoto saw it, and had the idea to merge the project with concepts that Imamura had come up with for a new Star Fox based on the similarities between them. The newly combined project switched development from the N64 to the GameCube and would arrive in late 2002, now titled Star Fox Adventures. It would be the last game Rare ever developed for a Nintendo console, as they'd be bought by Microsoft for $375 million later that year, a price tag that seems fucking quaint nowadays. I just realized that we're now farther away from Adventures release than the gap between Adventures and the original Super Mario Bros. Christ, I'm old. For a long time we didn't know what Dinosaur Planet looked like aside from snippets, but in 2021 a build of it wound up online after being found on a CD by a Swedish collector. It's not feature complete and has a number of bugs, but is playable from start to credits. From what I can find, there's a small community dedicated to making it as playable as possible, fixing bugs and trying to smooth out the janky or unfinished parts. There's a full playthrough of the patched version on YouTube that's a trip to watch. There's a bunch of scenes that are almost one-to-one the same with what came out. The whole development saga is kinda fascinating because Star Fox Adventures is very uneven and kinda weird, like a museum curiosity. Let's press our nose to the glass, shall we? The game's opening shows that despite the ersatz development, Rare was swinging for the fences. Krystal the Fox is investigating a distress call of unknown origin in the skies of Dinosaur Planet. She loses her staff in the storm before her and her pterodactyl friend are accosted by this airborne homunculus galleon. Right out the gate, this game looks fucking amazing for an early 6th generation title. It actually runs at 60 FPS on native hardware, it's kinda nuts. The character models are detailed and colorful, the fireball blasts and the lightning strikes look great, you can see the detail of rain spattering on the galleon decking. After some basic tutorials we meet General Scales here, but Krystal overestimates her own abilities and gets yeeted off the side of the ship.
Proces, General! Moro do Kemo!
Kia charge dekelu!
Poszvat Keo Jezo Eve Keo Tashkov Shaduk!
We wind up at the palace of the mythical Krazoa spirits because we're going to need a bit more than a stick to stop Scales. Here we run around and control Krystal in a larger space than the cramped galleon, and okay, yeah, let's just rip this band-aid off now. Krystal got a massive redesign in the transition from Dinosaur Planet, because a ton of work had gone into conceptualizing her character, and the team didn't want to cut her. They retooled her role in the story as well as her design, because apparently...
I think somewhere in his mind, Miyamoto's always pictured Star Fox as somewhat mature, and he's been saying things like, wouldn't it be good to add a slightly sexy character since the beginning. Likewise, for Star Fox 64, although the game certainly appeals to children somewhat, I think Miyamoto felt that leaning fully into that would be going too far, and he wanted to add some mature touches where possible.
Yeah, okay, the phrase mature touches is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Her outfit leaves nothing to the imagination. Like, look at this frame from where Scales is about to toss her off the ship. She's got fully sculpted glutes, thighs, and calves. And the hip sway when she walks! I think this was the most risque Nintendo got up until, like, Xenoblade 2? There's an analysis to be made, perhaps, about Krystal's design taking cues from old pulp sci-fi imagery, the beautiful alien princess in a skimpy outfit, your Frank Frazetta or Boris Vallejo aesthetic. Hell, her outfit reminds me a lot of Leia's during the Bard scenes of Return of the Jedi. But I am not here to analyze things that deeply. I'm an internet clown making videos to amuse myself, and hopefully other people, because if I don't laugh, I'd be screaming. So with that in mind...
It's called hentai, and it's art.
This opening section in the Krazoa Palace eases you into the big picture gameplay. There's environmental hazards to avoid, explosives to transport and yeet at cracks in the wall to open up new routes and areas, these unsettling jellyfish enemies that used to give me nightmares as a kid. Leave me alone! I love that we don't get any English for a while and get sucked into the setting via this staccato dinosaur language.
Keo uhu tudwo.
Los ak oe kiogrod kiotash kopshoduk.
Neo no noho ukasbot. Ashatu kat vokat sog. No nohu mucha shot. Oh.
Rekneok noho oe tedwo kutsoho.
Keo King Earthwalker.
With a few exceptions. The main objective is to scale to this upper level and get hold of the first of the Krazoa spirits, these... Once you get possessed by one, you get main character eyes and have to take it to another shrine to let it loose, which entails... making the most erotic noises possible while thrusting out your chest. Miyamoto, was this your idea? Something goes sideways, however, and Krystal gets scooped and dragged through the temple up to a, well, Krystal, and gets stuck inside. Boy, I sure hope the reason for this is explained in a way that's narratively satisfying and not a complete ass pull at the finish line. I do like that the Star Fox team is reintroduced in a state that makes logical sense. They're broke, crabby, and desperate for work, because it's kinda hard being a mercenary when you body a would-be space dictator so hard you bring peace to the entire galaxy for several years. The lack of action cost them a member, the smartass Falco, who becomes Mr. Not Appearing in this game, mostly, due to events detailed in a Japanese exclusive comic released prior to the game. It's actually a fun read, you can find it online fairly easily. The gang gets recruited to help fix Dinosaur Planet, which is currently in several pieces due to General Scales messing with things he shouldn't. Fox's first gameplay section feels right in line with what the series has been up until this entry, flying on a rail, blasting enemies, and collecting rings to open a planetary force field. Okay. Now it's rendered in glorious 480p, it sounds great and crunchy, the Arwing has weight but controls well, the music's booming, and it's over in 63 seconds. To the ground with you!
And don't forget, you're looking for the Queen Earthwalker. Try talking to those Thorntail guys. Slippy is preparing a translator device, but until it's ready, he'll translate for you.
Okay, General. But what about a weapon? Why couldn't I bring my blaster?
It's always the same with you, Fox. Shoot first, ask questions later. This mission is about saving the planet, not blowing it up. It requires a different tactic. Try using your head.
Unbeknownst to everyone around him, Fox McCloud developed an unquenchable thirst for violence during the Lilat Wars. The first couple steps of this journey are seared into my memory from playing this so much as a kid. First things first is to go get Krystal's staff that she dropped in the intro and get talked at by her magical answering machine. I really, really dig the staff. It's equal parts primary weapon and Swiss Army knife. The animations for it expanding and contracting are nice and snappy, and it makes this thwack when you hit enemies that sounds absolutely devastating. Unfortunately, you're limited to 3 flavors of attack combo when fighting enemies, most of which go down in 2 repetitions. You're going to be seeing this flying spin smack a lot. Driving Fox on the planet's surface feels familiar and yet different. His movement is actually pretty spry at full tilt. The A button is your all-purpose context-sensitive button for using the staff in interaction, like talking to the dinosaurs, who somehow have intelligible text dialogue despite Slippy still working on the translator. It doesn't take long to get the first staff tool, the Fire Blaster. It goes pew-pew and is used for a lot of puzzle solving. You can assign anything in your inventory to the Y button for easy access, but it's the Fire Blaster button, at least for the first few hours. The Earthwalker Queen asks us to find her son, who's been dino-napped by Scales. In order to get there, we need to befriend the Warp Stone, which we can do with the candy from the shopkeeper.
Welcome to my store. Feel free to look at the many wonderful items within these walls. I have food, special goods, and many maps. Now, hurry and choose something, or get out.
You can haggle with this weird floating guy if you want. I think you can only really get away with going about 20% under the ask, and even that's not guaranteed. The maps he sells are optional, but he has several mandatory items for progression in here, which always struck me as odd when so many other things you have to collect are in your path through the outside world. The general rule is to just clean out his inventory whenever you can. It'll save you the headache of having to backtrack to the shop in later parts of the adventure.
Ah, a lovely sweetie. Mmm. Who dares bother the mighty Warp Stone?
The Warp Stone hurls us through the Doctor Who intro to Ice Mountain, where we hop on a speeder and chase these blue Sharpclaw down a mountain in a segment that I definitely failed on purpose to double back for the fuel cells in the cave here. Yep, totally on purpose. You need the fuel cells to power the R-Wing for trips off planet. Just grab them whenever you see them and you'll have plenty.
What?
I love that line delivery. With a working translator, we get access to the last major gameplay mechanic, Prince Tricky. He'll be tagging along through most of this adventure, and he has his own little quirks. I remember being annoyed by him as a kid, but he's not that bad, honestly. I think it was the big brother chip on my shoulder that I had. There's 3 sub-menus where you can access items, your staff powers, and Tricky's skills. He gets 3 right out the gate. Find, where he'll dig up patches of dirt in the environment to find goodies. Stay, which is self-explanatory and used for puzzles. And a whistle to make him return to your side like a good boy. This sub-menu actually introduces the biggest problem with this game's controls. See, in order to access it, you use the right thumbstick. Pressing it in any direction will open it, and then subsequent inputs navigate through the menus. Now wait a second, you might be asking. If left stick is move, and right stick is menu navigation, how do you control the camera? You use the L button to snap it behind you. That's all the camera control you get, take it or leave it. They try to compensate for the lack of direct control by making the camera very mobile on its own. It hovers right behind Fox and follows your turns. But years of 3D third-person gaming have ingrained the instinct to use the thumbstick to look around, but all it does here is bzz. Usually just annoying, occasionally crippling.
I'm here, guys. Mission accomplished. Contact General Pepper so we can get paid.
She is gonna be okay, isn't she, Fox?
Are you sure you've finished down there? The planet's not back together yet.
The first couple hours indicate the broader strokes of the game's structure, where it imitates what I like to call the Zelda zigzag. Follow along with me here. You land, get the stick, beat up goons, reveal a big switch. Go get Fire Blaster, trigger the switch. Speak to Earthwalker Queen, she tells you to rescue Tricky. To get Tricky, you go to the Warp Stone, who wants a snack.
Nobody ever brings me gifts anymore!
So you double back to the shop if you didn't buy the rock candy beforehand, buy the snack, then use the Warp Stone. You rescue Tricky on the Ice Mountain.
What?
Hike back to Thorntail Hollow where you started, but oh no, the Queen needs special mushrooms, so you go down this well to find some. Down there, you get the next staff power, a rocket booster used on these glowing pads for vertical traversal. But this guy won't let you go deeper to where the special mushrooms are unless you have a lantern, which you probably didn't buy from the shopkeeper yet, so you go back up the ladder, lift some rocks for money, buy the lantern, back to the wall, down to the dark, get the mushrooms. It just feels like a lot of steps and backtracking to make incremental progress. The Earthwalker Queen explains that Fox needs to retrieve 4 magic rocks called Spellstones to put the planet right. The first one is in a place called Dark Ice Mines. So are we going there now? Of course not! Because we have to go back to the Ice Mountain and rescue a gatekeeper to open the way, which requires a trip through this tunnel and flipping a switch to alter the water flow.
The Sharp Claw have imprisoned me in this infernal cave!
That's clearly ice, you muppet! Gateway open, back to the passage, hit the switch again, hoof it back to the R-Wing, finally fly to the mines. Get used to constantly doing this kind of objective checklist thing. This is why I said to clear the shopkeeper out when you can, because God help you if he has the key item you need. The surface map is continuous, and I bet you dollars to donuts that these little passages and tunnels you have to constantly navigate are masking loading zones. I feel like the anemic speed you climb ladders at hides them too. Wait, hold on. Tricky just hops in this little compartment on the underside of the R-Wing? How the heck does he breathe in there? And what happens when I... The first half of Dark Ice Mines is kinda boring. It's more ice and snow horns. One of them just magically gives Tricky the ability to breathe fire. You need it to melt certain walls to progress. You get to hop on another snow horn and bash down a single door. Another zigzagging sequence through the area gives you access to the Flute of Summoning Mammoth, which you use to ride this big guy through a blizzard. Down in the actual mine, things are a bit more interesting. The walls actually hurt you if you touch them for being so hot. Here we do as the gatekeeper asked and rescue his daughter Bellina Tay.
My name is Bellina Tay. The gatekeeper is my father. Did he send you to rescue me?
I'm sorry, Bellina, but he feels you have betrayed the beliefs of the gatekeepers. We were only sent to find the Spellstone.
The old fool! I had to save the tribe. If it wasn't for my father being a gatekeeper, none of this would have happened in the first place.
Wait, could she have just done that the whole time? Oh, I forgot about this bit. You have to haul an explosive barrel up this winding ramp. Getting hit by the bouncing barrels makes it explode, and falling off the edge makes Fox drop it in order to grab the side. The barrels bounce along a set path, but this is one of those times where the lack of direct camera control makes this way harder than it needs to be. I got stuck here for a while as a kid. Easiest solution I found this time around was to pick a side and hug it, and it still took me a half dozen attempts. Once you get the bomb up the ramp, it's smooth sailing through the rest of the puzzle to open up the boss.
Flame!
He's got the Spellstone!
Galdon has a pretty kick-ass design, but feels incomplete. You have to smack his tail a few times, he'll swallow you, or you can then attack his uvula, which has subsumed the Spellstone. He spits you back out, and then you have to play the waiting game and watch for this specific animation before hitting his chest blowhole with a fire blast. Do that 3 times, he vores you again, use his uvula as a speed bag again, and then he keels over. It feels like there should be one more round of outside harm, rule of 3, you know?
Oh, you must forgive your father. You must work together to lead the Snowhorn tribe against Scales instead of fighting each other.
Wait, Fox, did your accent just change?
Oh, you must forgive your father. Oh, you must forgive your father.
Oh, you must forgive your father.
Back on the planet's surface, we have to do a quick errand for the Thorntails to get access to the Moon Mountain Pass, which leads to the Force Point Temple we need to return the Spellstone to. The Moon Pass feels very odd compared to the rest of the game, with its weird trypophobia-inducing ground textures. I wonder if this was an area from later that they didn't want to cut and reworked it to fit here. The Force Point Temple has some cool architecture and introduces a new puzzle mechanic that'll be sprinkled throughout the rest of the game, timing fire blaster shots through colored torches to match the color of the target. In here we also get a new staff power, the Ice Blast, which has applications in puzzles, and also breaks the combat. There is no reason to mash through the same 3 canned combos against the enemies when I can just assign this thing to the Y button, blast the mooks with it until they freeze, then give them the Jason X treatment. Half the time they drop a little magic gem that refunds most of the cost, and if they don't, the gems are everywhere anyway, so it's a self-sustaining cycle. I also just completely gave up on dodging the fire jets and most of the environmental hazards. They do chip damage at most, and you can't throw a rock without hitting a breakable box containing a health pickup. A bit of traversal later, we slot the stone home. The game actually has the decency to teleport you back out of the temple instead of making you backtrack, a courtesy it extends to you nowhere else. On the way back through the moon pass, Big, Tall, and Ominous here pops up to remind us that we have another main collectible we need to grab, the spooky Kool-Aid ghosts. We get another new power to help with that. Jeez, that was quick. The ground quake is an area of effect slam that looks big and impressive, but is, unfortunately, kind of impractical save for when it's mandatory like with these enemies. The energy cost is rather heavy, though it does break clusters of boxes all at once to save you some time, I suppose. Inside the shrine, we just have to clown on some enemies within a time limit, and I get super cocky and lose all my health, but I have a full stack of Bamfum dads, and just come back like Fox Jesus. With Spirit and Body, we use Stone Shrek here to get to the Krazoa Palace. My game shits itself for a second and mutes all the character voices for this cutscene, but I feel the need to point out that according to the colored subtitles, the Warp Stone can't warp dinosaurs. On a planet solely populated by dinosaurs, like it's in the name. The palace is a bit wonky. I never liked navigating it because it's very samey throughout, and this first trip here as Fox, you have to know that your destination isn't on any of these terraced landings, but actually the roof, which is accessed through this fan lift tucked away on a high floor. Up here
Wow, she's beautiful.
What the with the saxophone Miyamoto, come on! Little did I know what seeds were being planted upon hearing Fox moan like this as a kid. Alright, now we have to get out of here and...
What?
Next we trek in a different direction out of the hollow to go to a seaside area, Cape Claw. These big sharp claw enemies with the axes start appearing more regularly, but just freeze and shatter them, don't waste your time. A bunch of GameCube games had really good looking water, and this one's no exception. It ripples and refracts light in a way that wouldn't be widespread in other games for a while. Good job, Rare. I'm just cruising at this point. I dig up all 4 of the gold bars you need to give to the high top here before even talking to him. Inside the holding cell is the Cloud Runner Queen.
Whoa! A Cloud Runner! Shoo shoo! Go away, Cloud Runner! Get away!
Have you two met?
He is an Earthwalker. I am a Cloud Runner. Our tribes do not see eye to eye. His father has probably been saying bad things about me.
Tricky is racist, apparently.
He used my powers to open a path to the Cloud Runner fortress. I must return there to help my tribe.
Back to the ship, fly to the fortress.
I know it was the fox that set you free. Now where is he?
I do not know what you're talking about.
You will tell me! Where can I find the fox?
Fox dumbly decides to pick a fight with Scales, and we get hucked into a dungeon with no staff, but it takes like 2 minutes to get it back using a sharp claw disguise that Slippy sends you, no big deal.
You take over. Keep eye on prisoner. Me go for break.
The fortress is patrolled by these little drones that make the probe droid noise from Star Wars and shock you if they see you, but again, the damage is so minimal that I barely bother to work around it. Turn the power back on and go free the queen from captivity, again. She asks you to round up her children using the Flute of Summoning Cloud Runner, so we do that, and in return she opens the way to the treasure room holding the Spellstone. You know, I feel like preventing the planet from ripping itself apart is more important, and you could have done this at any time, just saying. The fortress's boss fight is another speeder chase. You have to ram each of the other speeders 4 times to destroy them. Just hold the A button, hit the boost pads, and cut the corners. You can win in like 2 minutes. Planet side, we retrace our steps back to the beach and save this guy to get a gem.
Hey, you stay away, you stinking furball, or me smash you good.
What? But I just saved you.
Me trust no one. Sharpclaw say I steal their things, but they stinking liars. Me get out of this place. Adios.
You know, him saying adios implies that there's a Dinosaur Planet equivalent of Spain, which makes me wonder what tapas look like here. As is tradition, the Ocean Force Point Temple is a pain-in-the-ass water level. Traversing this electrified floor is simple enough, but inside the temple proper we have this puzzle with the rotating carousel and water spouts with long windups. Getting the timing down is tricky enough, but it's not helped by the fire blaster aiming. The developers made it so your crosshair wants to snap back to the center of the screen at all times, and you have to hold the left stick in position to shoot at angles, which isn't the easiest thing to do. As far as I'm aware, there's no way to change this, but I lucked out and did this in one try. We bring the Spellstone home and the game tells us we have to return to the Hollow. On the way back, though, we have to take a detour into the worst part of the game.
Hey there, little fella.
Oh, I don't like this, Fox.
Fox! Look out! It's a trap! Get it!
So this weasel here accuses Fox of stealing the gem back in the cape, but luckily we get Cloudrunner back up to avoid becoming a pincushion. The game won't let you leave the village though, because there's a Krazoa spirit hidden here somewhere. A chat with the Lightfoot chief puts you up to the task of doing 2 tests to prove your mettle. The first one, running around the village to hit switches, is a cakewalk, so much so that I flubbed the beginning part twice and still finished with time to spare. The second is one of the worst things ever put into a video game. The test of strength is simple on paper. Mash the A button as fast as you can to shove this no-thoughts head empty motherfucker into the hole. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. You're wrong. You know nothing. You have to hit the button absurdly fast. Borderline controller breaking fast. The only way I was ever able to do this as a kid was enlisting my younger brother for help, setting the controller on the coffee table, and both of us going ham on the button with pencil erasers like we were hammering in a railway spike tweaking on Adderall. And even then, it wasn't guaranteed. I knew this was coming, and I thought, I'm 20 years older and better at games now, I can probably do this. I could not do it. No, really, I couldn't. This challenge is patently absurd. I had the foresight to take my phone out and use it to record the sounds of me pressing the button over and over during an attempt, and I want you all to listen to this. How the fuck is pressing the button that fast for that long not enough? Look, his foot even slides over the edge of the pit. Come on! And this is mandatory. You have to beat this challenge or you don't get to progress. God help the kids that played this back in the day who didn't have a sibling to tag team with, and shout out to my brother for helping me. Nowadays, though, I don't have the patience or the lack of carpal tunnel to brute force this, so we're going to solve this with a modern solution. Just do a little bit of this, add this line of code into the arguments box, and now holding the button is the equivalent of pressing it 10 times a second. Yeah! Fuck you! And even after that, when you get access to the shrine, you have probably the hardest Krazoa test to do, where you have to keep this red line in the green zone as it wobbles and jerks around in response to the illusions leaping at Fox. This also gave me a ton of trouble as a kid, but you know what? One and done this time. Booyah. The Lightfoot better hope galactic war never comes to the planet, or else some ordnance I'm responsible for might get misplaced. After that traffic snarl, we're back to cruising right along. We drop the spirit back off at the palace and help this Thorntail lady by saving her eggs. Doing this nets us the oddly named portal device staff power, which has nothing to do with portals whatsoever and is used to open these tessellating doors you might have noticed in passing. There's a whopping 6 of them in total to open, so this really feels like a big nothing. We do need it now, though, to open the way to the walled city where Spellstone number 3 is. I forgot to mention this until now because it's only now that it becomes really relevant. You actually have to fly through a certain number of gold rings on the flight path to, quote,
"Open the gatekeeper's force field,"
and be able to land. There's 10 total in each flight stage. Landing on the planet, you only have to grab 1, like I mentioned earlier, but it increases for every dungeon. The walled city requires 7, meaning the focus isn't on blasting stuff, but on making sure you snag the rings, which makes me wonder in turn what the point of shooting the clutter and enemies in the level is in the first place. The hazards do so little damage and the healing silver rings are everywhere. It all stinks of the transition from Dinosaur Planet to Star Fox title. They had to put some flight stuff in here, but it's so minimal and slapdash, I actually think the game would have been stronger if they'd left it out. Like Star Fox 64 has varied backgrounds, some beefier targets, the free-flying all-range stages. Flying in Adventures is just busy work, and I can see someone potentially focusing only on getting the rings and not bothering with getting a grip on the shooting. Hey editing me, when will that be relevant? Thank you. The walled city is sparse enough that it's more of a walled outpost. It does have some T-Rexes called Red Eyes in this setting because it was only a matter of time until they showed up. Oh god! We get an upgrade to the ground slam, turning it into the Super Quake. You need it plus either an explosive or Tricky's flame command to damage and eliminate the Red Eyes. Tricky, go! Tricky, go! Tricky! 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 Eliminating the big boys nets you a gold tooth, and a quick jaunt through a tightly timed river running section gets you a silver tooth, which opened the door to the Red Eye King boss battle. While it is a relatively simple puzzle boss, just give him a shock and then huck an explosive at his noggin, I can't deny that I enjoyed this one more than the 2 prior ones. I think it's the little things, the T-Rex skulls in relief along the walls, the fact that the king is so large he can't turn around in the narrow passages, which suggests this is a prison of some kind and that the big guy didn't jump in here willingly, and having to time stepping on a floor switch when you have this roaring at you is hella tense. The game even pulls a fast one on you for the final hit, where you have to grab the explosive before stepping on the pad, potentially risking it blowing up in your face. It's good stuff. Oh great, first cutscene Vincent, now cutscene Fox McCloud. If it sounded like our time up here was really brief, it was, but we're coming back later. Back on the surface, we return to the zigzag. Hike back through the moon pass to reach the volcano and drop the spellstone off, then double back to the hub. These flying nuisances decide that now is the time to rise up and attack the Thorntails, and we fend them off for a big wallet that we need to hold enough scarabs to buy the last artifact from the shopkeeper. Delivering it back to a snowhorn on the ice mountain opens up a platforming challenge, the completion of which opens up a shrine to Krazoa Spirit number 4. This shrine has icy floors that are annoying as hell, and the spirit test is another goddamn button-mashing test of strength, except this one is way easier and I do it without needing to engage the turbo controls again. Back to the palace, drop off the spirit, back to the hollow, talk to this guy who's actually the last gatekeeper, off to get the last spellstone. Did that seem kinda quick? It did to me too. I feel like the game's pacing gets compressed near the end, which really highlights the go here, do this objective sequence. You're done getting new powers, Tricky's got all his abilities, and you've been introduced to all the puzzle mechanics. It's all just ticking off the objective boxes from here on out. The flight to Dragon Rock requires you to get all 10 rings on the flight course, so I hope you're good at sussing out where they are at this point. The area is a blasted wasteland with a sequence of things to do that at least have a more natural cause and effect flow than the kind of random back and forth on the planet's surface. You start by freeing an Earthwalker and use him as a battering ram to disable the shields around these floating drones. After blowing up the drones and clearing a path, you free a High Top to hit a switch that you can't otherwise reach, but still have to protect him from missile fire. Him hitting the switch allows you to do another puzzle and free a Cloud Runner, the one from the intro in fact, who takes you airborne to destroy shield generators protecting the main tower.
It's all up to you now! The Spellstone is inside, but Scales has it guarded by a terrible creature! You must be careful, Fox!
Fox, you are really lucky that platform was there, man. Inside the tower guarding the Spellstone is the fourth boss, Drakor, who's easily my favorite fight in the game. His design is sick, this mutant winged dinosaur hybrid covered in armor and packing tons of ordnance. All you have to do is shoot him until he dies, aiming for his chest and shooting down his own projectiles to protect yourself, but like with the Red-Eye King, it's the vibes that make me enjoy this. The fire spewing from every direction, the lava below you, the music underscoring it all. The back and forth as he ascends and descends through the tower and alternates between sniping at you from a distance and getting right in your frickin' face. With Drakor toasted, we return to the planet with the final Spellstone in hand. Back to the Ocean Temple, go through another round of its bullshit, slot the stone home.
We did it, Fox!
Guys, are you seeing this? Mission complete! What's going on? We've placed all the Spellstones.
There must be more to it, Fox. Since you left Walled City, I've been studying your mission, and I've noticed there's something hidden at the top of that huge temple. It looks like a Krazoa shrine entrance.
Oh yeah, I could have told you that!
I don't know why anyone would be surprised this didn't work. There's still 2 Krazoa spirits missing on the completion board. One is in the Walled City, necessitating a return trip, like I mentioned earlier. To get it, you need to retrieve 2 special stones to open the door, and yeah, you know the drill at this point. The fun part is how you open the routes to each one. You have to ascend to the tops of these mini ziggurats and use the look button. You heard me. The look button. A button you are told about one time in the tutorial and probably never used since. Also, hope you bought all the collectibles from the shopkeeper because you need these special zoom goggles to blind yourself and open the doors. The maze puzzles are easy, open up the shrine, get your tail in there. So, by the way, here's a thing. There's a lot to dislike about modern gaming, but one thing I really do appreciate is developers going out of their way via in-game dialogue or even just a pop-up to warn you, hey, you're about to commit to the ending, make sure you have all your stuff done. If you care at all about completing the game fully, don't finish this Krazoa shrine unless you have everything else gathered, because you're locked into the ending after that. If you save after the shrine, you're screwed and can't go back. I'm definitely not spending time on this to avoid talking about how I failed the memory test at the end of the shrine like a doofus and had to redo it. Nope, not at all. Though this game is a trap for completionists anyway, because it's actually impossible to get a 100% save file. The last percentage point is the final boss coming up, but the game doesn't save after the boss, so no aesthetically pleasing number for you. And as for that final boss... With the 5th spirit in tow, we leave Tricky in the care of his dad and zip back to the planet one last time. This trip puts us directly on the roof of the Krazoa Palace, and like I mentioned a second ago, you're stuck here unless you have a save from before the shrine. Giving up the purple ghost unlocks a teleporter on the roof, which zips us to another section of the palace where we're ambushed by Scales. Oh yeah, remember him? The big bad guy that we haven't even seen on screen since Cloud Runner Fortress like 5 or 6 hours ago?
Earned the Spellstones, but the war is not over yet. Now you must face me.
Wait, pause it! This frame fascinates me. Scales has the little health heart. He has a model in gameplay. I really want to know what was originally here, because Scales ain't the final boss.
Stop! Scales! You are no longer any use to me.
Who are you? I demand you show yourself!
I am the one you brought to Krazoa Palace. The Earthwalkers could see me, but you could not.
I don't understand.
No, I didn't think you would. Your desire for power overwhelmed you. and blinded you to the truth inside. Now give Fox what he's looking for. Give him the final Krazoa spirit.
You will regret this.
It was in him all this time. But that voice, I recognize it from somewhere.
We take the final spirit back up to the roof and they use Krystal, oh yeah, she's in this game too, as some kind of conduit, I think. One spiritual shotgun blast later, and...
I am reborn, the mighty Krazoa god.
What accent is that even supposed to...
We will never kneel to you! Give me that!
Hey, wait! Well, thanks for nothing. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be standing here at all.
My staff! You're back.
Do you think she maybe had other uses for that staff?
I've been looking forward to this day, to see you again, Fox McCloud.
Now some of you may be wondering, who the hell is this? Well, this is Andros. He got blown up at the end of Star Fox 64. How is he here? That's a very good question, and the answer is, I don't know. And I don't think the game does either. I swear, hand on heart, that I did not omit mention of him for the sake of a joke, nor did I deliberately ignore foreshadowing of him either. Throughout this whole playthrough, I've been exhausting NPC dialogue, rereading every bit of flavor text that I could, convinced that somewhere along the line as a child I had missed something, some clue, some hint towards his involvement. And you know what I found? This one line during the tutorial section running around the Krazoa Palace as Krystal. That's it! This is the nadir of Star Fox Adventure's weirdness, this final culmination of the alteration of an original IP to fit a franchise mold. Andros comes out of nowhere. Not even at the 11th hour. We're 2 minutes to midnight here. There is no explanation, no build-up, no good reason why he's talking all funny.
And now, to destroy the Lilat system!
I mean, at least his design is good. It's a detailed and freaky upgrade to his N64 look. Though I'm not sure who made the call to give him the skin tone of the last hot dog left under the gas station broiler. The other real sting in the tail is that if you only hopped in the R-Wing the requisite amount of time up until this point, you spent a cumulative 11 minutes and 33 seconds flying through space, and yes, I did do the math. Well, I hope you picked up something during those 11 minutes and 33 seconds because you're locked into the cockpit for this. I would say it's not that hard, but I know it's only not hard for me because I've clowned on Andros a billion times at this point. The fight is basically the same as it is in Star Fox 64, with some alterations, like how it starts out with you having to blast the eyes and forehead gem of this giant Krazoa statue first before he spins around to show you his ugly mug. He'll then try either to shake your hand or shoot damaging space slinkies. When he opens his mouth, pivot to either side and spin as fast as you can with the shoulder buttons. This is an attack carried over from 64 that I only know how to avoid because I've played 64. Adventures does not tell you or hint in any way, shape, or form how to avoid this. Blow up Andros' Rayman hands, he'll spin back around, abassinate the statue again, he somehow has new hands when he turns back around, blow those up again, and then he'll give you the suck.
Hey McCloud, different time, different planet, and you still need Falco's help. It's good to see you, buddy.
And now the bird's here too! From here you're in the home stretch. Andross's only remaining attack is to barf debris at you, which you can destroy for rings to restore your health. During these attacks, Falco does flybys to drop supply crates with bombs in them. Why don't you help me directly, you son of a bitch? Lobbing a bomb into Andross's gullet when he starts vacuuming you up again turns him translucent, so you can shoot his brain. Huh. In 64, the bomb blows up inside his noggin, and when you do it enough, you have to fight his brain in its own engagement. Here he just tries to ram you with his frontal lobe a few times. I almost managed to 3-cycle him, but I leave him with an imperceptible sliver of health and have to do one more go-round. Last thing I'll say before the death blow is that the music here is pretty good, a big bombastic update of his 64 boss theme. I have to find the positives somewhere, you know? And that's it. Planet's finally fixed. What a weird game. As I mentioned earlier, this would be Rare's final hurrah for Nintendo before being bought by Microsoft, and there's a certain stripe of conspiracy thought that posits Nintendo forced the game to be a Star Fox title to avoid Rare having an IP in their back pocket to take with them after the sale. I was a bit skeptical of this for a while, but apparently a former Microsoft exec all but admitted that both they and Activision had been trying to buy Rare out since at least the year 2000. So even if Activision would have won then, it would have been the same result given where we are now. Adventures is ultimately just a high-profile reminder that even back in the old days, the eternal friction between developers, publishers, and IP holders resulted in some truly middling stuff hitting the store shelves. This game was also the beginning of Star Fox being a cursed franchise, but we'll get into that more when I talk about what came after this with Assault and... Ugh. Let's wrap this up. The game's denouement attempts to explain away Andross coming back in the most ham-fisted way possible. No, you don't get to do that. We get to see Falco's full model, and he's wearing a do-rag and sunglasses like he's the Great Saiyaman, and also speaking with this weird pseudo-Brooklyn accent for some reason.
Hey guys, you don't mind if I hang with you again, do ya?
And then...
I received this message from Krystal.
Hi, Fox. I really appreciate what you did for me.
Oh god, the saxophone's back.
I'm left with just one more thing to do. And that's to say thank you.
And the ass shot! Do you think Shigeru Miyamoto knows what he unleashed? The main objective is to scale to this upper level and get hold of the first of the Chrysoa spirits. Sounds like a brain of fucking spring water. Off to a great start. Galdon? No one. Fucking.